Hey guys, welcome back to the Junk Box Part 3. This will be the last part. If you're like, Part 3, I missed the first two, well, that's because you need to go back to Part 1 and figure out what the heck we're doing here, and then go ahead and watch Part 2, and Part 3 will get you caught up. All right, so here's the junk box and what we have left, and we will start right there. Okay, now this is probably a note that, well, it could get graded. You know, it's not a fancy serial number or anything like that, but it is a very, very nice 1934 D series $5 silver certificate. It would probably grade an MS63, but it's just one of those notes that, it's not really worth grading. Grading costs like 40 bucks a note, and it's just not worth sending off, but it is a beautiful note. Let's see, what do we have here? That is just a small head 5. Okay, this would have been one that I just pulled out of the cash drawer. And it is very, very nice. Not a fancy serial number or anything like that, but if you look at it, it just looks pretty dang good. And, it's one of those notes that maybe in another 20 or 30 years might be a little more desirable. It's never going to make a house payment or anything like that, but it is still a great note. Okay, here's a cool one. There's a star repeater. Some of these, this may have been on a Fancy Friday, like weeks ago or months ago or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But, some of these notes you may have seen before that are coming up. I can't remember if I made videos about them or not, but this is a really cool serial number. All right, it's a repeater, so 0099 repeated twice, and then it is a star note. So pretty unusual serial number. A note like this does have a pretty heavy centerfold there. A note like this would probably bring like 75 bucks or so. Okay, we will keep going. All right, there's a 1934 $20 bill. All right, this is considered the dark green seal on it. There is a light green seal as well, and it actually kind of is lime green. So a lot of these 20s like this and the 10s, they're pretty hot notes. They're not super valuable or anything, but people do try to collect the entire series of them, which if that's a task. If you've ever tried to do that, some of you may be in the middle of that. I personally have never done that. I would like to put together the star series of all the denominations, but that's pretty difficult in its own right with some of them. Okay, we'll keep going. I figure I've already said that. You've seen this on Fancy Friday, I'm sure. So there's a fancy serial number Hawaiian note. I'll start throwing down some fancies here that I know I have coming up. There's a repeater, $5 silver certificate. There's a radar on a funny back. There is a radar on a silver certificate. There's a rare note. There's a radar on a silver certificate, but it's a star radar. Okay, those are really tough. Okay, another radar. Another radar. Notice these are all on silver certificates. Okay, another radar. There's a binary radar on a silver certificate. There is a 7 of a kind on a $5 silver cert. Okay, now these are not junk notes. I know I call this a junk box, but these are notes that I just have in my personal collection that I just don't really have anywhere to put them right now, and I'm not going to get them graded, so they're just going to hang out in this box. All right, there is a, it's 12/12/1919, just a funny serial number. I got that off eBay, best I remember, for, a little bit over face value. Okay, there is a fancy serial number, what they call the Puerto Rican 1, but it is a U.S. legal tender. All right, if you look, it has the 5s on it. Seal's a little faded. There is a near radar. I like to call that a near hit. But that's a note that, it doesn't have anything above face value on it, but that dang 7 right there really screws everything up. Oh man. Here is kind of a tougher, newer star, more modern star. So I've got 1.2 million printed written down there on my notes, which, you know, it's uncommon. It's not rare by any means. It's just uncommon. It's a fancy serial number. That's note 7000. That's a really cool one. And those are really desirable right now. Just the 7 zeros with a random number thrown in the sequence. So those, I've seen those, they've went for premiums a lot higher than what I've ever seen in my life, especially the last year or so. Here's a real fun kind of stair step, 25 0, 24 0, 23. It's a fun silver certificate. Here's a repeater on a 2. There's a radar. Let me move my stack. We're getting a little on the tilted side there. Let's see. That is a repeater. Here's a neat one. 7 of a kind on a 1934 with 8s and a 7/8. All right, that's a pretty rare note. One that it's just dirty and beat up, and I mean, actually, I probably could get that graded and sell it for a premium, but I don't know. I like it kind of in its raw state myself. All right, here is a group of 7 of a kind notes. Notice where the 6 is. There's the 7. There's the 8. Okay, here is a legal tender that's 2s and 0s. Okay, here is, this one right here is from the Bahamas, and it's a repeater on a foreign note from the Bahamas. There's a 7 of a kind. Oh, we're getting too close to the bottom of the box here. There's a repeater. Here's a neat one. So this is a true rotator. If you look at that serial number, 69869869, kind of a random assortment, but it reads the same if you flip it over. All right, it is a true rotator. Some people argue 8s are not rotating, but we're going to pretend like they are. Okay, that right there, let's see. That's just a, that's the 2013 star from New York. This is the series where they actually had duplicate serial numbers. So I just, I kept this one. It is a fancy serial number, kind of. But, you know, if I could have ever found the match for this with kind of a fancy serial number, that would really up the value. If you don't know what I'm talking about, type in 2013 Star New York or B series, or right here, this is what I'm referencing with B. And you can read about how they kind of screwed that up a little bit. All right, we're about done. Here is a rare star. It's a sheet note. So 250,000 printed. That's I think those are going for about $40 a pop. Here's a 1963 fancy, another 63 fancy. I think that's what. Yep, there's another 63 fancy, referencing the year there. There's a repeater. There's a radar on a 63. That's a super cool note. It's a true radar at that with the A's. Here's a radar on a legal tender with some graffiti on it. Here's a radar that is it's a radar repeater note. And I should end on that, but the very last note is nothing too fancy. It's a semi-key star. So part 3 ran a little long, but we're at the bottom of the box here. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me through 3 parts of this. And I hope you saw something that made you go, oh, that's cool. or if you have any questions or anything like that, just hit me up at dwcurrency@gmail.com. If you saw something maybe you want to buy or whatever, let me know, and we might be able to negotiate something. So I appreciate you watching, and take care.